Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for tuning into the Conscious Environment Podcast. This week, I got a chance to sit back down with Che Guerrero, and we spoke about the undocumented immigrant community, how the Black community can help them. We talked about police reform. We talked about awful immigration laws. We talked about the civil rights movement. We talked about possibly a loophole from 1929 that can actually help undocumented immigrants today. Unfortunately, there was a little bit of technical difficulties, and you'll hear it in the podcast episode. It's a little bit choppy at some points, and I apologize for that, but I didn't want to edit it any more than has already been made a mistake. So I hope you guys enjoy the conversation. I had a great time speaking with Che again.
Che, introduce yourself. Who are you? What do you do? Where can people find you?
Who am I? That's always evolving. So that's always an evolving question. But right now, blessed enough to be, on TikTok doing the undocumented experience, that content, getting it's been growing a lot lately. So I've been very blessed. My Undocumented as podcast. You can also find stories where I interview other people who have been undocumented who have gone through the same thing. And it's I had a really emotional episode I actually posted today of. I was just talking about this. He was born in the U.S., but both of his parents are undocumented, still have issues, and his mother's been deported, his father's been detained. I'm like, wow, I've never thought about a kid who's, he's static, but then like everything else around him is like chaos. It can be taken away at any moment. That blew my mind. And I guess like my kids, like I never thought about my kids in that sense. Like they're citizens, but they're like, yeah, daddy could be gone.
Yeah, I actually got a chance to catch that episode. I was listening while I was at work because I'm driving a truck all day, so I got a lot of time to sit and listen. And yeah, there was a lot that I never even considered. I never really even thought about, like the fact that I don't even know how to describe it. Like you're born here, or you're able to be here, but your parents are able to just be gone, like in like an instant. And I think in the story, I don't want to tell another man's story, but it was something like wasn't his dad like taking out the garbage? It was something strange, one time.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's actually the biggest fuckery with ICE is that they were there to look for someone else.
Right, yeah.
And Diego's father was literally just throwing out the garbage after work. And when ICE doesn't find the person, they go, you know what? Let's pick up someone. They could just pick up someone. So they'll just do a sweep. And, the dad's like, I don't have papers. I don't have my ID. They took him in and detained them, like that simple. And that's what they do. If you watch, I think it's Immigration Nation on Netflix, you'll see that ICE would just be walking around like, let me see your papers. If they're doing like a raid, they could say it's like a sweep.
Ugh.
So that's what it is.
I hate that.
So it's not isn't that horrible? Because it's not a targeted raid. As long as they're like, well, we were coming for this person, but this person was at work, and the 5 of you are in this apartment, we can take the 5 of you in.
Right. Yeah. That's such a wild thing to me. Mm-hmm. Especially because like how innocuous it is. Like he's just out. He's taking out the guy. Like he's just being a guy, being a dad, just doing something. I can't imagine.
I did not jaywalk until my 20s because my mother was like, in New York City, they're like, they will stop you for jaywalking, and I have a reason to stop you, and then you're deported. And then it sounds crazy, but when you have no status, you're like, nah, man, I see motherfuckers can stop for jaywalking. I ain't going.
I'm not about to try it.
That's not the thing I want to try the most in my life.
Yeah, because what if they write? Like, somebody's talking about it. They're saying something. You get stopped for this, that, and the third, and then that's their excuse. So, where's your papers? Where's this? Where's that? And I think there's a lot that folks don't, what am I trying to say? Like, citizens, like a cab all day, like we're also like the police, but at least it's not that. Like,
Yeah.
I have a different set of fears with the police and being like, I don't want to be around the police. I don't want to be around the police. I don't want to get taken away from my kids. But like, I was honestly just, I was listening to this book about the Black Panthers earlier today, and something that Huey P. Newton is like jumping out in my mind. It was something along the lines of a man can take a bullet more than he could take a beating. Like, I can't, like it. That's the fear in my head is like, you know, that's my fear of how I'm going to be taken away from my family. I can't imagine being taken away from my family in the vein of just being gone, but like knowing where they are and being 1,000 miles away. Like, whoa, man, it's like that, like,
that's a good
it's
point.
shaking me.
That's what the immigration system does. You know, some people have been undocumented for 30 years, and it does just beat you. It beats you, and that's like, you know, that's why people get like empathetic, or they're like, forget, I don't want to try anymore, or they go back home. You know, that's what the government does. You know, they want to beat you until you just go back home.
Right, until you're just like, what? I mean, whatever. You guys win. Like, I'm tired. I'm tired of doing this. And like, yeah, it's exhausting being a secondhand citizen here.
You know what's crazy? It is kind of like, you know, the more I put these stories out there, and the more like I share these experiences, even I'm learning things. Like, I just learned, like, yeah, undocumented people with driver's license can, like, you know, can be organ donors, but nobody undocumented can ever get organs. So it's like one of these trippy ass things where you're like, whoa, like, I didn't even think about it that way. And it's like, I have to put it out there to people. Because I think it's like, to me it's like common knowledge, because when you grow up like that, you're like, oh, it's common knowledge. But when you put it out there to where you realize, oh my God, no, U.S. citizens, that is a level like of comfort that people are not even aware of, like citizen versus, and then you know, like I said, when you get into our level of immigration, then you have green card holders, and then you have like DACA, and then you have like TPS, and everybody has like a different like level that they feel superior to the other. It's insane.
Right. Yeah. I didn't know that. Like, I didn't know that there was a hierarchy even within that
Oh my
system.
God, there's colorism between our paperwork, bro. You got a red card, I got a green card. Oh, you only got 2 years, I got 7. You know what I mean? It's all this pettiness, bro, because we got nothing more than just to, like, I'm a little bit closer to citizenship. It's almost the best we could have to whiteness, if you will. That's why I don't give a fuck about this anymore, you know?
Yeah. Well, actually, something that you said on your podcast that's sticking out to me too with this whole thought is like, at a point, do you get like, is it worth it anymore? Like, you were talking about you were talking about DACA and you know, having to reapply every 2 years, or it's every 2 years, right?
Yeah.
You got to reapply every 2 years. You got to drop 2 racks on it every.
Enslaved to make us this. If I wanted a sweater, I could just go to my homie who makes amazing sweaters. Do you know what I mean? Like, we would live in that world, but capitalists don't want us to live in a world where literally a fucking tiny plant from ShopRite gave me so much pepper.
Right.
It blew my mind.
Dude, that's I'm sure it happened before this, but I love the idea of like the genesis of your socialist radicalization is buying a pepper plant from ShopRite and being like, holy shit, what if we did this with everything? This is amazing.
What if we just all grown stuff? Like, it was so simple, but I was like, these motherfuckers. Like, I more got mad at this. Like, these motherfuckers. I thought like a plant gave me maybe 1 pepper, and that's why we needed it in massive. Like, no, these shits give out. Yo, these shits put out.
Owning the means of production, like, if we could, and it's dude, it's crazy to think about like how many companies use like let's be honest, it's slave labor because they can't be paid, right? They're not being paid. It's slave labor. Like, you're forcing somebody to do something that they don't want to do because they have to.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like it's insane to me that it's like, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, that they're just forcing so many people to work, and then like I think Victoria's Secret just recently stopped doing it, but it's like Walmart does it. Like Victoria's Secret was doing it. Like insert so many different box stores. We're just like getting a lot of their like proprietary stuff made by just convict leasing and like just slave labor. And now it's I'm learning that it like extends to the undocumented immigrant community as well. I had no fucking clue that was like that, man. That's wild.
Yeah, and honestly, when I did find out that we were also making things in the detention center, I was like, oh, that's why they're all perky that's why they'll show you the kids ones, but they really won't show you inside the adult ones and all that stuff. Those are private. You can't go in, those are private. You know, the borders, those are federal. You can see them a little bit. Those private prisons, that's where the real shit's being made.
Yeah, man, that's wild. I had no idea.
Yeah.
So what do we do about extending this what do we do about extending this law? Oh, this was something I was going to bring up too, like just as an aside. It is just a fun fact, fun as these facts could be,
of course.
Did you know that the Civil Rights Act has an expiration date? Like just thinking of like the other dates, or like the Immigration Act of 1929 got extended in 1965, and then not stopped in 72 or whatever. But like we could re-extend it again. It just made me think of the fact that like the Civil Rights Act also gets extended. Like it has an expiration date. Yep. It always has.
What the fuck?
I think it's either the
my phone dropped. I'm so shocked by that shit.
I think it's the fourth or fifth time, something like that. Fourth or fifth time, something like that, something along those lines. That we've extended it. We just recently, I think the most recent extension of it was under Obama. I think it was in like 2012, 2013. And they extended it again. They extended it for another, I think they extended it for 15 years or something like that. It comes up before like 2030. It'll come up again to be extended. And they haven't codified it to just make it like an act, make it a law, like just make it permanent. They haven't done that yet.
Huh.
It's wild to think about that, like, and that's what I mean when I say that, like, when it comes to stuff for black and brown folk, like if it doesn't benefit white folk at some point, or like for whatever reason that they can come up with or figure it out, it's always begrudgingly done, and there's always some caveat, some bullshit tied to it. Yeah. So Civil Rights Act, they were like, oh, these darkies aren't going to need this forever. I think it was supposed to. I think they first did it for 5 years or something like that.
Yeah.
It was something like that. It was like the first. It was only for like 5 or 6 years, and then they extended it again for 10 years, and they extended it again for 10 more years, and they just kept doing it. It came up in the 90s, and then it came up again in like the mid noughts, about like maybe 10 or so 15 years ago.
And you know what? It's like features of it do need to be like renewed every. But you know what? This is the slippery slope where they go, let's not renew that. Let's not renew that. Do we really need it? Times have changed. You know, it's that slow fucking back rolling of yeah.
Yeah, for real. Like with the states that had the most like Jim Crow laws and stuff like that. And this also too ties because a lot of these states are also the states that have really peculiar immigration laws. You'll never believe it. A lot of those Jim Crow black codes, they just kind of horizontal stepped over to brown folk.
Yeah. Skipping it out.
But yeah, a lot of those like when it comes to repealing parts of the Voting Rights Act. Like I think it's Mississippi is one of the states that's been fighting it for years, basically because they it was written into law that basically is simple as I can put it. They fucked up so bad that they were like, listen, y'all can't do shit else unless you ask us. And they were like, okay. And now they're like, well, we haven't messed up in like 50 years. and honestly, the pushback to it is the pushback to it is, of course you haven't. We've been controlling you this whole time. Like, we've made sure that you guys haven't. Because they keep saying, well, maybe we don't need to add this, have this, Title 11 here because, we haven't messed up in X amount of time. Yeah. And every single time they say that, somebody in Congress inevitably goes, yeah, because we didn't let you. Yeah. Like, of course you guys have done like the right thing. You've been watched the whole fucking time.
It's like the villain that has a thing around their neck. Like, come on, I haven't transformed. Like, yeah, because we got the thing around your neck that stops you from transforming into that fucking, abomination.
Yeah, we've stopped you guys from being assholes this whole time. You don't get a cookie for doing what we said when the teacher was in the room.
Yeah.
Like, and we don't trust you guys not to do it because you seem real anxious about like, well, what if we didn't just have these restrictions? Because whatever they want to do, whenever they do want to try to pass something, it's always an awful idea. It's always something bad that they're not supposed, that they shouldn't do, and they end up getting yelled at for it, and they end up getting told that they're not supposed to do it. They can't do it. Like, you guys can't gerrymander like this. Can't do this. Can't do that.
I want to give you real quick. This is actually the organization that I went to visit in California. It's called Chirla. They're the ones that's actually pushing for the Immigration Act of 1929. What's great about this organization is that they do a lot of great things for the undocumented community. They help people get their status. They do the legal work to help people move through the mechanisms, but they're also policy driven. So they're the ones, the Act of 1929 is something they want to see updated. So they're working very hard to do that.
Awesome.
This is like their like little project, like I think it's a very good idea.
That's super cool, man. I had no idea about that, and I'm glad that you brought this to me. I want to figure out, are there, so is that, you said that organization's out of California?
Yeah. A quick little brief history. They've been around for a long time, but after Reagan passed the amnesty in 1985, California became one of the most racist states in the nation against immigrants. Mm-hmm. And they went in hard, and it was organizations like Chirla. And people give credit to California now being all this progressive and all this stuff. People do, they never give people of color the credit they deserve, because it's organizations like Chirla that gave undocumented people the ability to go to college and push all these things like driver's licenses and healthcare now and all the education, all that stuff that created a strong Latino class that is a voting bloc, that is a changing force for that whole state. So I'm very proud that they even gave me this packet full of information. They're like, take this is what we're doing. I'm like, yo, this is amazing. And they've done the work to make California a much friendlier place for immigrants.
Yeah. Reagan is probably the ultimate supervillain of the United States. But also like Nixon in California. Like, California is great for where they're trying to go now, but it has such a sordid history. It's sordid past with a lot of stuff that they've done. And like you said, as of like 85, not even what feels like that long ago, people were doing that. Can you just for folks real quick, in case anybody wants to look it up, can you spell the name of that organization?
CHIRLA, Chirla.
Okay, cool.
The Coalition for Human Immigrants' Rights, LA. That's
wait, say it again. Coalition for
the Coalition for Human Immigrant Rights, Los Angeles, Chirla.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
They have different all over the place. They have some in DC. Chirla, there you go. It's in the chat down here for some other people. I love them. So yeah. So I I can't wait to. If anybody wants to become a member, those are great. You can be anywhere in the country. You know that way you support immigrants' rights and policy changes, and they also, most organizations don't get behind candidates. Chibla gets behind progressive candidates, not just Democrats who are like, I need another election cycle. No, she's like, no. Come here. If you want any of our member votes, they have undocumented family. They have this. So our member votes come with actual policy changes. So I love that.
Nice. Yeah. I love that too. I like that. I like that a lot, that they actually do stand behind candidates and they're not just all talk.
Yeah.
Like, or I mean, I'm sure they do things on the ground, but like, you know, you want this big policy change, you gotta you know, you gotta put behind the candidates that are gonna actually get in there and do it. Yeah. I would even encourage folks that, like, if you're running for something and like this is something that's important to you, reach out to this organization and see how you can help them, how they can help you. Yeah, I've never even heard of this organization. I'm going to check them out.
I'm glad I'm bringing so much stuff to you guys' attention. I'm very proud of it, you know? So
yeah, man, absolutely. So like we, before I jump off here, get out of here because my phone's about to die. No. We always try to say, I know me and you talked about it last time, but we got some new stuff, some new information this week. So how can the Black American community help the undocumented community? Like what's something that we can do to aid? Where do you guys need help? Where do you see that, like, something that we can do, or how can we get together? I know there's going to be folks listening that are like, I want to support this community. What do I do?
You know, and I thank you for that question. I don't know how I answered last time, but I think the truest, honest answer is, like, we need each other. Like, I know my community needs to do a lot with its anti-Blackness, and there's still a lot of the Black community that thinks like we're here to replace you. You know, like you know. So there's that kind of like they're taking our jobs. You know, let's look for any organization, like I said, like Chibla. You know, look for anything that's actually like immigrant driven. Like, I know it's easy to be like, oh yeah, you know, I live around Spanish neighborhood, or I go to Spanish neighborhoods, or I have Spanish friends or whatever. But like, going to an actual organization and like seeing sort of like what the struggles within the community really is, it's a lot different, you know, because like you said, you listen to my stuff, you're like, oh yeah, right, there's a kid who's a citizen, but their parents could be deported, you know, and and you know, just until you see it, it's very different. That's why, like, you know, for me, like, I thank the Lord. Like, when I came here, I went like straight to the hood. I hate saying hood, but you know, to like rougher neighborhoods where I got to live with like different people's experience and see different lives. Right. And I had my Black friends take me to church, and I had my Puerto Rican friends take me to Pentecostal churches, you know, so I got to see like the church, especially. Like, I went to Muslim churches. I went to like, they go, you know, I went, you know, to temples and stuff like that. So like, I did all that. And I loved like seeing just how the community talk about themselves when they're in their own space.
Right.
You know, and that's what I love. And that's, you know, so I'm just saying, like, you know, as much as I need to go to more, you know, marches for, you know, Black lives and things like that. I've gone to a few. I can always go to more, you know. I would just like to see more Black brothers and sisters just, you know, just hang out at our meetings.
Yeah, absolutely. And almost any city that has any population of substance has like a little whatever, a little Puerto Rico, a little whatever, a little Mexico, little this, little that. And a lot of times it's like everybody from like any sort of kind of Latinx, Latin community all sort of hang out there. Like, they'll say like I'm in Buffalo, there's little Puerto Rico here, right? And like, but like, it's not only Puerto Ricans that are down there. It's a lot of Puerto Ricans that are down there. But it's like, if you speak Spanish, that's just where you go. That's where you shop. That's where you eat. That's where you go. And like, I mean, there's like mad Dominicans down there. There's like a lot of people from those cultures that have this shared experience, and a lot of undocumented folks, a lot of immigrant folks that have that same shared experience. Like the countries of origin may be different. Your Spanish may be a little bit different, but being that kind of person in America, you experience a lot of the same bullshit. You experience a lot of the same good shit. You experience a lot of the same stuff. So those communities are really strong. And just like with Black folks, with our communities, our neighborhoods that we go to, and like we know what it's like, venture out, go to those other neighborhoods, see what's out there, experience those people, eat at the restaurants, support those businesses just like you want them to support our businesses. Like they come into our neighborhoods, they support us. We need to go into their neighborhoods and support them, because at the end of the day, we all fight in white supremacy. So like, I mean, that's really it.
That's it.
Because white supremacy don't give a fuck about neither one of us.
They don't give a fuck about us.
And they
But
try and
our
artists.
I give a fuck about us.
Exactly. And I mean, it's something like I love having you on, Jay. We're gonna do it again. This might be like a once a quarter thing. We probably have you on like every couple. And but I love having this conversation to talk about, like, you know, different oppressions, different things, the good things. I'm glad that we brought good news. You know, it's not all like downfalls. Like, this is something functional that we could do, that we could, like, there's bright spots. But I like to highlight the fact that, like, you're right, man, 100%. A lot of these, like, Jim Crow laws, all this stuff, like, if you start to learn the history of Black America, and you can see the experience of immigrants in this country right now. And if you, like, man, I didn't even think about, I'm gonna take this with me forever. Undocumented white immigrants is like burrowed into my brain right now, because it's like there's such a stigma that we just had that's like undocumented immigrants, somebody brown speaking Spanish, but you don't think of somebody tan speaking Italian, because that was also an undocumented immigrant.
For years, that was done. That was it. Every 10 years, you got a pathway to citizenship automatically.
Man, it's wild to think about, but that's the move. I'm gonna check out the organization. If you're listening on the podcast, I'll have the links down below and all that stuff. But Che, again, where can people catch you? Link all the socials, drop that podcast one more time, and then I'll let you get out of here.
Find me on TikTok and Instagram under My Undocumented Ass. I got the My Undocumented Ass podcast. Me and a couple of other big undocumented TikTokers are gonna start a newsletter soon, so check that out. We're working. It's gonna be so much fun. And if you're in anywhere near the Philadelphia area, February 2nd to the 4th, I'm at the Punchline in Philly I'm opening for my friend Liz Mealy. She's hilarious, one of the greatest touring comics right now. It's a pleasure to be opening. So I'm going to be doing 25 minutes on 5 shows. So I'm excited to get my comedy stretch on. I haven't done that in minutes. You know?
Awesome, man. Awesome. Yeah. All right, buddy. Well, I love you so much, man. I really appreciate you talking to me and teaching me something. I love learning stuff. And
next time I'm in Buffalo, I gotta look for you. Now that I remember where you're at.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And if I'm downstate, I'm coming for you. Don't you worry.
Do it. I gotta do this live.
All right, man. All right. I love you, buddy. Peace.
Hey, mi amor. Take it easy.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed recording it for you. I apologize again for the technical difficulties. I hope they were not too jarring as you were listening to them, and I will have to definitely have Che back on to make it up to him. But a little bit of good housekeeping news. We have a bonfire account, finally, so you can go and grab some merch. We have a Black History Month shirt up there. We also have the Peace Brain shirt. I don't know, I haven't really named that guy anything better. It's the head logo that has the peace sign coming out of it. And so if you have a better name than Peace Brain, maybe just tell me something like that. If you want to support the show, you can do so with the Venmo and Cash App links below. If you can't support the show monetarily, I understand, but just tell a friend and rate us 5 stars. That really does help a lot. And one last thing, I love you, and remember, go drink water right now. Okay, I'll see you next week.